The customer brought in their vehicle with the complaint that the check engine light was on. After connecting a scan tool, I retrieved the code P0135, 02 sensor heater circuit, bank 1 sensor 1. This code indicates an issue with the oxygen sensor heater circuit, specifically the sensor on bank 1, sensor 1, which is responsible for monitoring exhaust gases and helping control fuel efficiency and emissions. To diagnose the problem, I used the scan tool to monitor live data. I started the engine and increased the engine speed to 2000 RPM while observing the oxygen sensor B1S1 response. I found that the sensor was slow to respond, which suggested it wasn't operating as it should. I began by inspecting the fuses and relays related to the oxygen sensor, but I found no obvious faults. Next, I performed a visual inspection of the wiring harness for the oxygen sensor B1S1 and found no evidence of damage, such as frayed wires or loose connections. After disconnecting the sensor's harness connector, I inspected the terminals, but found no visible faults. With the key on and the engine off, I used a multimeter to check for the presence of battery voltage and ground at the oxygen sensor B1S1 harness connector. Both were present, confirming that the electrical supply to the sensor was working as expected. To further investigate, I measured the resistance of the oxygen sensor B1S1 heater element using the multimeter. The measured resistance was not within the specified range, which confirmed that the heater circuit within the sensor was faulty. Based on these test results, I determined that the oxygen sensor B1S1 needed to be replaced. After replacing the faulty sensor, I cleared the codes from the ECU and performed a road test. After the test, I verified that the vehicle was operating properly, the check engine light remained off, and no fault codes returned. The key takeaway here is that diagnosing a P0135 code involves checking the electrical supply, inspecting the wiring and connectors, and measuring the resistance of the oxygen sensor heater element. By following this process, I was able to confirm that the oxygen sensor, B1S1, was faulty and replace it to restore the vehicle's performance and emissions control.